Good morning. I hope y'all are doing well. It is Tuesday over here in the office, and I just want to come to you with a quick video for the lesson this week. Um, this lesson is I love Judges. It's just the cyclical nature of sin, and then triumph is really good. But then it also shows us over and over again in this book that no human man, no just man, could ever lead us well. No, lead us well. It had to be the God man. And so every time that a judge is raised up, as soon as that judge dies, they go back into their sins. So today, though, we're looking at the story of Deborah and oh my gosh, Barak. I'm sorry, Deborah and Barak, or Deborah, however you want to say it. There's three things that stuck out to me in the story today that I want to focus on. Um, Faithful obedience, true courage, and then a beautiful song. Okay, so these three truths right here. And first of all, about faithful obedience, I love when you look at Deborah and you see like who she is and the way that she leads. I think this is really good. If you look at a paragraph on page 82, it says Deborah was living in obedience with boldness and confidence in what God has called and gifted her to do, even if that calling was quite challenging. And because of this heart posture, faithful obedience to God no matter what, it was because of this that she was able to serve her people in another way. And so, what I love right here is it talks about heart posture, this faithful obedience, being willing to trust God, whatever the circumstances are. That's not just being willing to trust God when it's easy, but willing to trust God through the tough times. And oftentimes, if we're honest, we are willing to obey when things look like they're going well for us, or we're willing to obey when it feels like this is easy. But but if but that's not what we're called to do. We're called to obey Him at all times, knowing that our God is for us, knowing that He is going to be faithful to us. And so, it's a great question. What limits or conditions do we tend to put on our obedience to God? What limit? I mean, that if we were honest with ourselves, there are limits that we have to put to our obedience. So I think that's great. Let's focus on that. Um, and you know, it kind of leads on to with this faithful obedience. It says that the struggle was never whether God had the power. The struggle was whether or not His people would believe. Right. So we know that God is strong. We know that God has the power. Now, our question is, are we going to believe that He has the power? Are we going to believe that He's strong enough? Are we going to believe that His plan and His purpose for us is good? And if so, let us faithfully obey, walk in obedience as we follow Him. Second thing we'll look at is true courage. True courage. If we look at this, Barak was a little nervous. He was a little scared. He had some fear that was involved. But what I love here in this passage is so often when we talk about fear or we're talking about following God, we can make it seem sometimes like, we never are nervous, we're never scared, or anything like this. But the problem is when we look at the Bible, we see that's quite the opposite. I love what they say right here about true courage. It says obedient faith in the face of fear is still obedient faith. Sometimes Christians believe that because we're called to be courageous, we should not fear. However, courage is not the absence of fear, but controlled fear. See, look at this. I love this. Fear says, I cannot, so I will not. Courage says, I cannot, but God can, so I will. God does not want fearfulness from us, but only trusting obedience. I think that's so great. Like our courage that we have, our courage to walk in obedience doesn't come from how great we are, our confidence in ourselves. Our courage comes in who God is, knowing that He can accomplish what it is that He's put before us, knowing that He can work through that. I love this. It says this question: how does knowing that God is with you help you remain faithful to Him? Oh, I love that. How does knowing that God is with you help you remain faithful to Him? I think it's a great question to ask because I think we forget about that so often. That He's there, He's with us. He's not going to leave us nor forsake us. And if that's true, how does that affect the way that we just live our lives daily, trusting in Him? And finally, what we see is after the victory, Deborah sings a song. And this song is not about what great things they've done, but it's the great things that God has done. In this song, I love it says this. They say that Deborah's story is our song. It is our song. See, we were captive to sin and we had no hope. Satan and his 900 chariots were stacked against us. We could not fight on our own. Yet the Lord stood in our place, fighting on our behalf, claiming victory over the enemy in an unlikely way through a cross. Look at this. Today we are the people of God because through Christ, God has crushed the head of the serpent. I love this. So for us, our song, our our ability to be courageous and follow God obediently comes from the truth of what Christ has done. That we know that He went before us, He defeated the enemy on our behalf. So, because of that, we can live and walk in freedom, we can walk in courage, and we can faithfully obey what God has for us because we know that He's always going to be faithful to us, and He proved it on the cross. So, I hope that's good for you guys. If you have any questions, you need anything, don't hesitate to shoot me a text or give me a call. Thanks, guys.